The automotive world is witnessing a revolution that no one saw coming. For years, the conversation about electric cars has been dominated by America, Europe, and China. Tesla, BYD, Volkswagen, and other giants have been racing to push EV technology further and further. But now something completely unexpected is happening. An innovation born in Africa is rewriting the rules of the game, and it has just made its way into the United States. A self-charging electric vehicle. Yes, you heard that right. An EV that can generate its own power, drastically reducing or even eliminating the need to plug into charging stations. For drivers frustrated by range anxiety, for cities struggling with infrastructure challenges, and for entire nations searching for sustainable energy solutions, this is the breakthrough the world has been waiting for. Africa, a continent often underestimated when it comes to cutting-edge technology, has shocked the global auto industry with this bold innovation. Engineers and entrepreneurs have been quietly working on energy solutions that don't just follow the global trend, but actually leapfrog it. Instead of building thousands of charging stations first, Africa asked a daring question: what if the car could charge itself? The result is a machine that could completely change how we think about mobility. Imagine driving across vast landscapes without constantly worrying about the next charging stop. Imagine owning an EV in a city where charging infrastructure is limited, yet never feeling stranded. This is no longer just imagination, it's happening. And now, the technology has reached America, leaving experts stunned and competitors scrambling. The arrival of this self-powered EV in the US is more than just the launch of a new car, it's the arrival of a new era. It challenges the dominance of traditional EV makers. It raises questions about the future of Tesla, Rivian, Ford, and General Motors. And it proves that Africa is not just participating in the clean energy race, it's leading it. But how does this breakthrough actually work? The answer lies in a mix of renewable energy harvesting, advanced battery management, and innovative engineering. By integrating solar technology, regenerative systems, and energy storage in ways never before combined, this vehicle creates a near-continuous loop of power. The car feeds itself. While it doesn't mean charging stations will disappear overnight, it does mean the rules of EV ownership are about to change forever. For America, this development is a wake-up call. The nation that prides itself on innovation is now importing one of the boldest technological leaps from Africa. For consumers, it's an exciting opportunity. For automakers, it's a warning shot. And for the rest of the world, it's proof that the future of mobility might not come from where everyone expected. Because sometimes, the most disruptive ideas come from places overlooked. Sometimes innovation thrives not in the wealthiest labs but in environments where necessity drives creativity. Africa has just reminded the world of that truth. And America is about to feel the full impact. The buzz around this African innovation is unlike anything the auto world has seen in decades. When the first prototypes were unveiled, skeptics dismissed them as impossible or impractical. After all, the idea of a truly self-charging EV sounded more like science fiction than reality. But as test models began rolling out, something remarkable happened: the cars worked. Not only did they work, they outperformed expectations, delivering consistent energy regeneration across long distances, city commutes, and even rural roads. The implications are massive. Think about the number one criticism of electric cars today: range anxiety. Drivers worry about running out of battery on long trips, especially in regions with limited charging networks. Tesla tried to solve this by building a vast network of superchargers. Other automakers relied on partnerships and government support to expand charging stations. But Africa's breakthrough sidesteps the problem entirely. Instead of asking drivers to depend on infrastructure, the car itself is the infrastructure. This philosophy comes from a unique perspective. In many African countries, reliable charging stations or even steady electricity grids are not widespread. That limitation forced engineers to innovate differently. Rather than wait for billions in infrastructure investment, they designed cars that could thrive without it. That shift in mindset is what gave birth to this technology, and it's what makes it so disruptive today. When the first models landed in the United States, the response was immediate. Consumers were fascinated. Media outlets rushed to cover the story. Analysts started asking hard questions. What does this mean for the future of Tesla? Could Ford's massive EV investments suddenly face competition from a player outside the traditional market? And perhaps most importantly, what if Africa's approach proves to be the true blueprint for global EV success? In states like California, Texas, and New York where EV adoption is growing fast, buyers are already lining up to test these vehicles. For many, the promise of owning an EV that doesn't need to be constantly tethered to a charger is irresistible. Imagine never having to wait 40 minutes at a station, never planning trips around charging stops, never fighting over limited plugs in a crowded city. The freedom this car offers is unlike anything on the road today. But beyond convenience, there's a bigger story here, one of global power shifts. For decades, Africa was seen as a consumer of technology, not a creator. But with this leap, Africa has flipped the narrative. Suddenly, the continent is not just part of the conversation, it is leading it. And the fact that America is now selling these vehicles is proof that the world has no choice but to take notice. Industry insiders are calling it the African shockwave. Automakers in Germany, Japan, and China are scrambling to study the technology, while investors are pouring money into startups that claim to have similar solutions. Meanwhile, governments are watching closely. If cars that charge themselves become mainstream, it could reduce the need for massive charging networks and change how countries spend billions in infrastructure. Energy experts believe this could also transform renewable adoption. By using the car as a mobile energy ecosystem harnessing solar, kinetic, and regenerative energy, drivers are effectively powering themselves while reducing strain on national grids. This isn't just good for drivers. It's good for entire countries facing rising energy demands. And the timing couldn't be more critical. As the world faces climate change and rising fossil fuel costs, the need for clean, reliable, and widely accessible transportation has never been greater. Africa's innovation arrives at the perfect moment, when the world is desperate for alternatives and when the EV industry is at a crossroads between hype and true scalability. The story of how this technology reached America is just as fascinating. It started with small-scale partnerships, quiet shipments of test vehicles, and pilot programs in select cities. At first, very few people paid attention. But when early adopters began posting their experiences, showing cars that could travel hundreds of miles without ever plugging in, the news spread like wildfire. Suddenly, mainstream American buyers wanted in. Dealerships reported demand far beyond supply. Waiting lists began to form. And now what was once an African experiment is becoming a global phenomenon. This isn't just about cars. It's about a rebalancing of innovation itself. For too long, technological breakthroughs have been concentrated in Silicon Valley, in German labs, in Japanese factories. But Africa has proven that brilliance knows no borders. It has shown that necessity can drive creativity further than luxury ever could. And now, that creativity is driving on American roads, stunning the world with every mile. As this story unfolds, one thing is becoming crystal clear: the world of cars will never be the same again. What started as a daring experiment in Africa has now turned into a global movement. A car that charges itself, something experts once called impossible, is now being sold in America. Tesla, Ford, General Motors, and Rivian are racing to respond. Investors are watching closely. And everyday people, from California highways to the streets of New York, are witnessing firsthand that the future of mobility doesn't always come from where you expect. Africa has delivered more than just a car. It has delivered a message, a reminder that innovation can come from anywhere, and that no country, no company, no giant is safe from disruption. The balance of power in the auto world is shifting. And this time, it's not Silicon Valley or Beijing leading the way. It's Africa. So what does this mean for the future? Will Africa's self-charging EV become the new global standard? Will Tesla and other automakers adapt, or will they struggle to keep up with this bold new vision? And perhaps most importantly, what does this mean for all of us, as drivers, as consumers, as people who want a cleaner, more sustainable world? The truth is, we're standing at the edge of a new era. An era where cars no longer depend on endless networks of chargers. An era where mobility is more independent, more sustainable, and more liberating than ever before. And thanks to a breakthrough from Africa, that era is no longer a distant dream. It has already begun. The roads of tomorrow are being rewritten today. And for the first time in history, America isn't just looking west or east for the future of cars, it's looking south, to Africa. The world is watching. The world is stunned. And the world will never forget the moment Africa's innovation drove straight into the heart of America and changed everything.